In response to the coronavirus pandemic, Congress has appropriated to date more than $2.4 trillion in emergency relief and recovery funds to help businesses, healthcare workers, and citizens all across the United States. Congress also created the Pandemic Response Accountability Committee, or PRAC, to watch over those funds.
So it's our responsibility
to
oversee that large amount of money.
We must make sure that it is spent wisely and efficiently, and that there is no diversion of funding or improper use of those funds, especially for the hardworking Americans and small businesses that are going through such difficult financial hardships and suffering so greatly.
In our first 90 days, we've made great progress, including launching a new website where you can learn about our ongoing work, read our report identifying the top challenges facing 37 federal agencies in responding to the pandemic, and use an interactive map to identify pandemic-related contract spending by state and county.
There's been 21 public oversight reports that have been issued. There have been 36 fraud arrests or indictments. There have been 4 fraud civil actions filed, and we have initiated 74 oversight products that are currently in the works.
The Small Business Administration has honestly never played a more pivotal role in the nation's history. Some might say that nothing short of the nation's economic well-being rests on SBA's shoulders when it comes to delivering assistance through the Paycheck Protection Program and the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Programs. There's no higher priority for my office right now than to provide oversight of the CARES Act funds under SBA.
We looked at the top services of mortgage loans that are insured by HUD. One of the elements of the CARES Act for HUD is mortgage forbearance, so that people aren't losing their homes. So we wanted to ensure that these servicers were putting out accurate and complete information. We found that in most instances that was not the case. So we felt that was very important to get out to the public as they make decisions for themselves and their families.
We took a proactive approach when the pandemic first started and issued the first pandemic-related report. That report focuses on ICE, the Immigration and Customs Enforcement's early experiences during the pandemic in their detention facilities. We're working now on a corresponding report for CBP, Customs and Border Protection, that will also be followed along with a deeper dive over several months.
We're taking a look at the Farmers to Families Food Project. People may be familiar with stories in the media about this, where the farmers, producers have excess crop production that they're not able to harvest and distribute because of the pandemic. And then there are, at the other end of the pipeline, families who desperately need food in these times. And so the department is coming up with ways to move those agricultural products through the pipeline to the families who need them.
And Treasury is really central to the whole execution of the CARES Act. We have oversight responsibility for the coronavirus relief fund that goes to states, localities, and Native American tribes. And we are to monitor and provide oversight and actually have the authority to recover funds that have been wrongly used.
HHS is the lead federal agency responsible for the public health and medical services response, providing vital roles to cover areas such as vaccine development, testing, and public health guidance. We have a sizable oversight role, and we have a strategic plan for carrying out what we need to do. We're accustomed to a rapidly changing program landscape and the need to pivot to focus on emerging issues. We have a really talented workforce and experience with conducting oversight related to emergency funding, emerging infectious diseases, and emergency preparedness generally.
The pandemic has imposed greater demands for us to assess VA's crisis responses, recommend improvements to its healthcare and recovery efforts. We published a report a week after we started our on-site visits. And we felt it was critically important to get something out as quickly as possible because we were focused on VA properly preventing people from coming in who could spread COVID or have other issues. and we turned that information over to VA when we were at the facilities. But we thought the public should be aware of what VA was doing to protect its patients and staff.
Where do we want to come out at the end of this? What is the value in the work? And I think those are the big questions. As IGs, we are all working through those challenges every day.
So for us, it's to find the white space that's not currently occupied by another IG and add value. And sometimes that's bringing IGs together. Sometimes it's doing our own independent work. Sometimes it's going to be supporting the work of the IGs.
So the IGs in the intelligence community who are working together with the PRAC, we are sort of the eyes and ears of the American taxpayer and working on that transparency as much as we can as those programs are implemented, both the health and safety for the personnel and then also the program spending.
The Postal Service, as you know, has a significant national infrastructure and has had to continue operating almost fully in a full-on operation throughout the COVID epidemic, which has been a significant challenge for them. They've had to continue to ensure employee safety and health throughout the pandemic, in addition to playing their role as part of the critical infrastructure and distributing economic impact payments to citizens, as well as distributing critical pharmaceuticals and other PPE and other things that people need for their daily lives through the parcel deliveries that they've made. So there's a lot of work at the Postal Service, just not a lot of funding to go along with it.
Our focus is really on the banks, the FDIC's supervision of banks, and helping to preserve the integrity of the banking sector. With the economic distress, it's putting a lot of financial pressure on the banks themselves, with the unemployment rate up, and unemployment claims increasing. Small businesses have sought economic relief, and bank profits have gone down significantly in the first part of 2020. Given those effects, people may not be able to repay their loans or mortgages to the banks, and there are real consequences of that.
The Federal Reserve established multiple lending facilities, and those facilities were set up to loan money, provide liquidity to employers, to various businesses, to communities. And our role and our responsibility would be to take a very close look at how the Federal Reserve established those lending facilities, funded them, is managing them, with a view toward, whether or not they are adhering to any statutory or any regulatory requirements, fact sheets or other promises that were made about how they're going to go about setting up these lending facilities.
In the next couple of months, making sure we have a foundation to get the data that we need for the Department of Education to ensure that processes were in place, evaluate how the department is providing oversight collectively or how these funds are being used. I see the PRAC as an additional layer to the agency watchdogs in providing that effective oversight. We have another mechanism to collaborate about best practices. We have yet another mechanism to coordinate across government.
As individual IGs and as the PRAC, we're committed to conducting robust oversight over the emergency coronavirus response funding to help ensure that the money is used responsibly and that the American people receive the critical assistance they need.
Right now, all hands are on deck.
One thing that's really struck me is how powerful we are when we come together.
We will continue to work with Congress and our partners across the IG community to cut across program and agency boundaries.
We all are the beneficiaries of these programs, and it's just critical to all of us that the country succeed in this endeavor.